Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and I'm here with Michelle Marini, and Michelle may very well be the answer to a trivia question, which I'm about to get to. But first, if you are interested in learning how to teach disc golf, or if you are already a disc golf teacher and want to expand your teaching universe, please message me for information. And if you want to get better at disc golf, my 6-month online Become a Complete Disc Golfer class is taking signups at scottstokely.net. Read about it there. So here's the trivia question. So, Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen had the torch passed to them from Valerie Jenkins, and Valerie had it passed to her from Des Redding, and Des Redding had the torch passed from Juliana, and Juliana had the torch passed from Elaine King. But who passed the torch before Elaine? Because with the start of Elaine, there have been eras of dominance in women's disc golf. But before Elaine, there was more parity. There was no truly dominant player for at least that many years before that period. Now, there were amazing disc golf women. There was everyone from Gail McCall and Joe Cahow, T.D. Ugaldi, all the way through Tammy Pellicane and Crystal Cleary, and there was Annie Kreml and Amy Becken, and many, many more. But the answer to who passed the torch may be the 2-time Women's World Disc Golf Champion, Michelle Marini. Michelle, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, we just stumbled into each other. I live in this area. We're in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I just said, I have an afternoon free. I'm going to go play a little disc golf. So we got 9 holes in, but I noticed Scott and some other guys and just said, hey, I need to follow somebody. I don't know this course that well.
Yeah, I mean, this is disc golf. You still have 2-time world champions just walk up on you. I know who you were. We spent the whole time talking about, so-and-so. Yes. Yeah. We all know all the same people. Now, I promise you that this would take no more than 5 minutes. Okay. You all know there's no way I'm going to keep it under 5 minutes now that I got you. Camera's rolling. Don't disappoint everybody. I want to talk to you about the old days because you were there at the beginning. You were at the Rose Bowl in 1976. It
was my first year.
My God, with the IFA. Yeah. Tell me about that. Well, how did you get into Frisbee back then? Because it wasn't a sport back then, kind of, right. Because
it was all new and a new adventure, and I credit Jim Palmieri. We were living in the same town, Rochester, New York, and he hosted the first American Flying Disc Open in 1974 on the college campus that my husband attended, St. John Fisher College, and he heard about it and he said, man, I'm going to go and whip some butt. And it didn't happen because he met Stork and he met Victor Malfronte and Jim Palmieri, and then a lot of guys from New York, a lot of guys from Michigan, prominent and dominant players.
Yeah, Ken Westerfield was probably there.
Was probably there, yep, and Jim Kenner, and I'm sure
Jim Kenner.
So that was August of 1974, and then of course here comes the winter, so we have to go inside. And Dave, my husband Dave Marini, is kind of geared more toward the freestyle. I stayed with what we call the field events. And so he paired up with Doug Carrera over the winter, came back in 75. We traveled to a couple tournaments. My first tournament was the IFT in July of 75.
Wait, you went to the IFT in Michigan?
In Michigan.
Oh my God, that's on my bucket list. The one tournament I've never been to,
okay.
And I wasn't going to go because the plague hit. Or I was going to go and then the plague hit.
Okay.
And funny story, I looked online and there was no information whatsoever, and I thought because of the plague, it right. didn't happen, and then later I saw the results.
Okay.
It happened.
So in 75,
you were there.
I was there in 75 with Jim Palmieri,
wow.
My husband Dave Marini, another couple of guys from Rochester, Woody Michaels, John Palmieri, Jim's brother. They had a guts team. I just watched. But I got motivated by Monica Liu, who did a distance.
Monica Liu, right?
Monica Liu did a distance. I don't know if it was a demo, but then they had kind of little amateur, give it a go. Try your distance. I tried that, realized, ooh, can't throw this very well. So then we went to Toronto in August of 75, and I got on a guts team with Gail McCall.
But you were on the team with Gail. Well, let's go back to the IFT for a second, because the IFT is the longest running Frisbee tournament in the world. The origin of competitive disc sports was the Healy brothers birthday party in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
And that's the start of it?
That was the start of the IFT, and that's why I want to go so badly. You were there.
My one and only.
Well,
admit that.
You know what? One is mathematically more than 1,000,000 times more than 0.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Jim Palmieri again was the one that motivated us just to keep at it, keep working. Let's go do a disc golf at this park, and it was all ground baskets then, or trees or objects. And so now we're in 75. We all went again indoor during the winter and ready to come out in the spring of 76 and off to the Octad we go.
Now I'm going to jump in here because I am aware of something. I was not there. But at that tournament, I know that one of the holes, because they were inventing what holes were, was a circle on the ground.
Yes.
You had to land.
Wire basket circle
you had to
on
land.
the ground.
You could throw a roller that just rolled over and fell over for a hole-in-one.
And I guess that was the big beef with Ed Hedrick. They said, no, we want to fly discs to your target. We don't want to do these little underhanded, tosses like you would to a horseshoes. But I was a softball pitcher. I liked them. So I kind of did that little, vertical toss.
Great.
So, but then, so by 76, here came the concept for the baskets. And then 76 also introduced the North American Series. And so you had to get to the qualifying tournaments throughout the United States in order to qualify for Whammo's World Championships. And so in 76 was able to travel to enough tournaments to qualify. So my first Rose Bowl was August of 76. My husband David had gone the previous year in 75.
Now that was also Ed, because that was the IFA, which was Ed.
Yeah. IFA, you had to have your IFA number and your master's qualification. Yeah,
you had to demonstrate Frisbee skills to get certified to be able to compete. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you signed up for that on the backs of cereal boxes.
I don't remember how.
Am I right? I'm sure it came on the boxes of Frisbee.
Something.
I know the IFA memberships came on the back of cereal boxes.
Or just like you said, the newsletter, because Jim Palmieri, once you started that tournament of circuit of tournaments in 76, 75, then everyone's exchanging addresses, and you'd get the newsletter. And Jim published the, I guess what do you call it? Well, he did one of the first Frisbee golf magazines, Frisbee magazines, because it was, again, all sports.
What's it?
And the Flying Disc.
Flying Disc Illustrated?
I can't remember the name of his first. I have them at home.
Yeah, wait a second. Now I got to go look that up. No, I know Flying Disc Illustrated.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, he also had a Frisbee shop, and that was our source to find our new discs and be able to have things for our overall. So we would have to have the fastbacks for MTA, TRC. You'd have to have what was then the best distance disc, which was the 119 or the 141.
Right? Or
Super Pro is what they would use for freestyle, but you would have to shave off the cupula. Am I saying that right? That little knob in the middle. So you take a razor blade so you had a flat surface. Then came...
that's what you had to do before you played.
And then Jim Kenner developed the Sky Styler. And then that's what, again, my husband David was the premier freestyler. He stayed specifically with that, that genre of disc sports. And he was inducted into the Frisbee Freestyle Hall of Fame 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yep. So he's in the Frisbee Freestyle. And then he also started, when Whammo dominated all these tournaments and you had to use Whammo discs, well then Jim Kenner came up with all his new Discraft, and then eventually Innova came in the early 80s.
83.
And,
Discraft was, I believe, 79 when he put out the Sky Streak.
Okay. And the freestylers like Jim Kenner's
the Sky Styler. Yeah,
but
that's still the gold standard for freestyler.
But in Whammo hosted tournaments, you had to stay with the lid, 165. So David started the Freestyle Players Association in 1978, and again, through a series of just collecting addresses, and I think it was like $5 membership that got you newsletters through the winter, and then where the FPA series could be if you were just exclusively a freestyler. But I continued to stay with all the overall and the Whammo tournaments through those summers. He went more specifically freestyle tournaments. So.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so 76 through 80 were our probably most active and premier years, and then he graduated law school in 80. So We didn't do a lot of competing in 80.
Well, hold on. I don't want to jump ahead. So you went to the Rose Bowl in 1976. This is when Frisbee was a fad, and I do not mean that in a derogatory way, because we wouldn't have existed had the Frisbee fad not been big. But in the 70s, they actually rented out the Rose Bowl multiple years
to host the championships
and sold tickets. And if you read my book, Growing Up Disc Golf, I talk about that. The Rose Bowl on page 1 of my book, maybe page 3, but that's the beginning.
So
but
what was your first year there?
No. So the story, the story in my book, this is why I hate Walt Disney so much. How about that for a transition?
Yeah,
yes, hate him.
Why?
It's not about the anti-Semitism. It's not about the capitalistic greed. It's about this. It's what he did to me. So we were going to go, this is before I got into disc sports, we were going to go, Pete Cease and I, to the World Frisbee Championships at the Rose Bowl. And we were leaving the morning to go to the Rose Bowl that day. And we had to go into his mom's office, but in the desk drawer, there were leftover free ride tickets for Disneyland that we saw.
That's premier.
And if you had tickets to ride the rides at Disneyland, you could go ride extra rides there. And we lost our minds because of Disney had control over every child in Los Angeles. And so we talked his mom into not going to the Rose Bowl. And I went to Disneyland instead. And I didn't realize in hindsight all of the people that I would have seen there had I been there. I've never forgave Walt Disney for
don't blame him
creating the ticket system.
Okay, that you had a golden opportunity as a kid. You had to take it.
Yes, but anyway, so yeah, I wasn't able to be there, but you were there. So you played, what's like 20,000 people?
I don't know the numbers that they drew.
They didn't sell out, but it wasn't empty. It wasn't, you know.
It was nice. They organized quite well, and again, our housing was covered. All the preliminary rounds for all the events.
They paid you to come out.
To and froing, and then to the Rose Bowl, and then your airfare, you know, to and from Rochester, New York.
Now, extremely important, because wait, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to state this. I'm going to state this, but then I'm going to look to you to see if I'm correct. Okay. I would estimate of the top 100 flying disc / Frisbee experts in the world, 0 of them had any money whatsoever. Accurate?
Yeah, very accurate.
It was very counterculture, a lot of hippie, a lot of people like hitchhiking across the country to go, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we traveled. We were fortunate because while Dave was in law school, we had those summers somewhat free, and I took a leave of absence from my job at a college, and the college summer enrollments were so down, they didn't need me, so I'd leave in May, come back in September, and then we'd live out of the back of our Ford Torino wagon, camp, head out west, north, south, east. Living
out of your car, playing Frisbee. Sound familiar, everybody? Sounds like my dream life. Well, I did it. Well, I mean, that's what I still do. I started it in 1993, and I've never looked back. Okay. All right, so you go out to the Rose Bowl. You finished. How'd you do out there?
In '76, I think 10th place.
Okay, so 10th place. Still good.
Again, the overall standing from the 7 events.
Yeah. And but you kept getting better, because in '77 was the Rose Bowl, '78 was Irvine, and I believe you got 3rd in Irvine at the World Championships.
Okay, golf, yep. And
by the way, she says my memory's better. I'm telling her how she finished, and I'm correcting her.
Looked it up. You looked it
well, up. No, before I looked it up though, you were like, I'm not sure, and I'm like, I know who you are. Yeah. So you're famous. You're a famous person in my universe. In my universe,
but having the contacts like Jim Palmieri, who kept the Rochester Frisbee Club up and going, and we kept involved, and we're still friends to this day. I love that man. In fact, we just saw him not last summer, a year ago, and we're back in Rochester.
Jim's the best.
We had lunch with him. Yeah, he's a dear friend.
So in '78 though, you finished 3rd place, and then in '79. The drum roll, you won.
The golf event, yes.
Yes, you won golf.
And I might have had some national titles in there. And again, I played double disc sport with Tita. I think we took a title somewhere along there.
You and Tita?
We have Tita's common friend.
Yeah.
Hi, Tita. And So anyway, yeah. So
you won the Worlds in '79.
won the Worlds, and was that the year I won distance, or that was '80? One
That-
year I had 2 titles, but
That I don't remember. I only know the golf because it's on the PDGA website.
Okay, and so then repeat, yeah, championship.
You came back in 1980.
Yeah.
You tied Gail McCall, one of the original co-owners of Discraft with Jim Kenner, and you tied her. So you must have won in sudden death. I know it's been a while, but do you
It's been a
remember?
while. I do not remember. Yeah, no, the specifics of that event. But again, we were such good friends because we played every event together, and so you rooted each other on regardless of the outcome, and so it was just a great experience. And again, our women's pool, whatever number of women competing was 15 to 20. Yeah, maybe 25 by
but 20 people. But you had to get certified. You had to qualify around the country. So that does not mean. Look, this is a time where Frisbee was extremely popular, and millions of people around the world were playing Frisbee. So you're not allowed to diminish what you did by saying 15 people were there, because had there been 1,000 other players there, you still win because the 15 best players were there.
Well, yeah.
If 1 million players came to the World Championships this year and played FPO, Kristen Tatar still wins because none of the women that could beat Kristen Tatar weren't there. All right, so stop it.
Okay.
I like lecturing people older than me.
We were at the right place at the right time. And
Yes.
that had a lot to do with it, just our era. And in fact, celebrated our 45th wedding anniversary this year.
Holy
and
cow.
it's my 45th anniversary of being a PDGA member, or a PDGA member.
What's your PDGA number?
303.
303.
And my hubby is 302, and Doug Korea is 304.
Oh, really?
So we all went to the same, I think it was Craigmere.
You would sign up in person at a lot of times at the events in order to play.
Yes, yes.
And by the way, this was a little bit of extortion on Ed's part too.
Okay.
It was like I give an extra $10 out of everybody. Good. Ed was a businessman.
Whatever the fee was,
Yeah.
So we got our membership, got your numbers. Then later on, you would get your a disc with the number printed on it. You got your little patch, and then we got this tiny little metal disc with your number etched on it.
Okay,
So
that's nice.
Yeah, back in the day, 45 years ago.
That's cool.
What I can't believe.
That is insane, right?
Yeah.
So then you quit in 1980.
Yep.
You quit on top.
Retired.
You quit on top. You're like the George St. Pierre of women's disc golf.
I don't know that name.
He quit a UFC champion.
Okay.
So he quit on top. He's the Tom Brady had he not come back.
Okay. Well,
Peyton Manning. You quit on top.
It was just again, the next season of life was, we were married in '77. We started having kids in '84. So what we did between after David graduated from law school, we go back to Rochester. We played Ultimate. Ultimate was our rec sport. Played that on some of the early women's Ultimate teams. And a shout out to Suzanne Fields, who was dominant in getting a great women's league going.
Did you keep up with all the old Frisbee people and all?
Just the ones in Rochester. Again, Facebook does a lot to reconnect you. So Jamie Mold and Billy Odell and Royce Razanowski, I think, is going to help the tournament next year in Rochester, New York, which is the 50th American Flying Disc Open. 74 was the first one, and now add 50 to that. So in 2023.
How about that, everybody?
The 50th. We're going to go. I hope we go.
Well, of course you're going to go. So you're now back playing and talking about competing again, and not talking about...
I re-upped my PDGA so that I could play a couple tournaments, and again,
how cool is this, everybody?
And it was the women's...
Please comment how cool you think
WGE,
this is.
WGE, the women's global event, and I heard about it, and it was kind of near my town, so I said, I'm going to go back out and get the dust off my arm, and started playing last year in May for that global event. It was this year in August. So I just play recreation. I've met some wonderful women to just play for fun, low-key, and that's where my heart's at. Just to play low-key recreation.
What do you think about the fact that now there's 1 million women playing disc golf?
It's incredible. So it's great that the sport has grown so, and it's fun to watch because I'll, read the PDGA newsletter and just see the popularity of it. And then, as they said, how it took off during COVID to have an outdoor activity and just be out in a beautiful day like today. You can't go wrong. And Yep. So my goal is next year to compete in the women's disc golf championship in Burlington, North Carolina, and I figure it's in my backyard, so I got to do it.
You have to go. Go practice the course.
Yeah, practice.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It is such an honor to play with the people. You know, I have, and you all know this, I have never once allowed a single person ever to call me an OG. Ever.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm
older than you, so.
You are, and no, you are an OG.
Okay.
I used to say I was third generation. Okay. Because I came around second generation time, but I was a kid, so I didn't really consider myself part of the generation. So I always said I was third generation. Then I was out to dinner with Mark Horn, Susie Horn, Dan Roddick, T.D. Ugaldi, and they all told me flat out that I was second generation. And I'm like, I will not argue with the four of you. Okay. The four of their PDGA numbers together add up to less than 150. Yeah. So I said, I'll take second generation. I ain't an OG. This right here is an OG. It is such an honor. I'm getting emotional just talking to you. Can you do a post-play hug? Oh. We'll give a little bit. All right.
Enjoyed it.
I know. I'm willing to risk it to get that on video because it's such an honor to play with you.
Wonderful treat to run into. Yeah.
It's all. And here we are. Our sport is standing right now on the shoulders of giants. Everybody.
But thank you for someone that records it, you know. And
well, it's important because
and again, Jim Palmieri's got a great book out too about disc golf and the history and others. So it keeps again. Yeah.
For sure.
We were there, but we were very fortunate to be a part of it.
You were there, everybody.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right,
thank you so much, everybody. All right, thanks, everybody. Remember, go to scottstokely.net. You can get information about my 6-month online class. And if you're interested in teaching or you're already a teacher, message me. I got something really cool. If you want to teach or if you already teach, please message me. You're not going to be disappointed with what I send you back. It's awesome. So thanks, everyone.
Okay.